I'm Jasmine Cox with Vincennes University.
And I'm JC Fields from Vincennes University. Today our presentation is over feminism versus God's plan.
First, we're going to start with God's divine design. God's divine design refers to the women's empowered movement. This is started at the earliest time of creation, and you can find this in Genesis in your Bible. This started when Adam and Eve were in the Garden of Eden. The first big sin of our entire universe started here. Adam and Eve were in the garden, and they had a perfect life together. They didn't know any shame. They didn't know anything bad in the universe. And God just asked them one thing: do not eat from the tree of knowledge. But Eve didn't obey this rule, and she ignored her husband and went ahead and ate the fruit from the tree after the serpent made her question her abilities and who her authority was. After eating this fruit, Eve got all the emotions: anger, frustration, fear, sadness, shame, denial. This all originated here in the Garden of Eden. The women's empowerment movement talks about justifying what we do and working to be a better woman. This talks about strengthening ourselves, strengthening our husband, and strengthening our children, and strengthening the rest of the nation with us. In the feminist movement, we find that people confuse the empowered movement with the feminist movement. Empowered women are women who embrace God's design and continue to use that to build their future with their husbands, with their children, with their friends, and the rest of the nation. In the empowered women's movement, we find that through the Garden of Eden, the punishment for the serpent was that man will always be better than the serpent. And that man itself, as in a male sex, would find complications through their capabilities. Women, unfortunately, also was punished with the fact that they would have complications in all their relationships for the future. We find ourselves having issues with our self-image, with how we view ourselves. We have issues with men. We think that they are treated more fairly than we are. We have issues being, as we quote, perfect mother, because we're sure that if we just had a little bit more that we could do outside of the home, if we had less we had to do with our children, that we would be a perfect mother, and we're so sure of this. The empowered movement says no, that there is going to be pain through these experiences, and it dates back all the way to the Garden of Eden. But the good news is, through the empowered women's movement, we found the keys that we need to strengthen our husbands, to strengthen our children, and to strengthen within ourselves. And JC will talk a little bit more about the feminist movement itself.
For the feminist movement, according to dictionary.com, feminist is defined as the advocacy of women's rights on the basis of equality of all sexes. In 1900, Margaret Sanger became the seed for the feminist movement. Sanger is one of the women behind the famous quote, "No gods and no masters." This phrase is broken down, basically implies that nobody, not even a god, is strong enough or has the power to tell us what we can or cannot do within ourselves. Sanger fought for the women's rights her whole entire life. Before feminism, women were very limited to what rights that they had. For an example, women could not only serve in a jury, but they could not open a bank account. Women cannot serve in combat, such as the military, and they cannot do manly jobs. Margaret Sanger did not like this and was ready for a change. In 1916, Sanger opened the first birth control clinic. After this, the world began to rapidly evolve. There is now more equal opportunities, not only in education, but professional, for both men and women. Women now have the right to vote, to work, to hold public office, to earn fair wages, and tons more. In the beginning, certain distinct things angered women and gave motivation to fuel the feminist movement. Women felt like they deserved the right to vote and the right to work and all of the rights that men had. Women soon began to start resenting men because they were so entitled. Women believe that they only need men only if it suits their agenda. Today in society, women are more able to express themselves due to feminism. Rihanna stated in 2017, there is something so special about being able to dominate in a man's world. This is only possible through feminism. Feminists believe it is their body and they are solely responsible for all decisions that are associated with their body. An example of this is dressing how a woman feels like. Another example is expressing their opinions. Stated once again, feminism makes it possible to express their feelings. Today's society allows for college marches. The sole purpose of these marches is to get their point across. They give everyone the equal choice to state their beliefs, opinions, and their views. Feminism is for the equality of all. Whenever I say all, I'm meaning not only men and women, but for all people regardless of race, gender, birth, sexuality, disabilities, and more. It fights for the equality from people from all walks of life.
In the beginning, you stated that Margaret Sanger had wanted this to be something that empowered women, that gave them a place in the women's world. But I think what we neglected to talk about was the fact that Margaret Sanger actually started the birth control once her mother died of too many pregnancy complications. And the women's movement has a couple good qualities, but at the same time, it was also a seed that was started in anger. She was angry that her mother had passed away after all these pregnancies that she had. And as we know, nothing ever good comes from anger. This is something that's going to fuel fire for a while, and then it's going to die off because it's going to become an angry thing. Like the good intentions of things, even back to Hitler, that were thought of for a good reason in the genomics, and also in this feminist movement where Margaret thought she was starting to do a good thing for women, but it's really fueled by anger and it's starting to become a bad thing where we're getting these painful, angry marches.
Well, I believe that the anger is a good thing because it keeps all of the motivation and the fuel in the fire, and it just keeps on developing into something else, which keeps on getting us to develop farther into more involvement for women's rights.
Wouldn't it be better, though, if we were more targeting the source? Because as we see, this dates back to God, and the pain that we undergo was really from Eve. And if you think about it, we're fueling a fire against men when really it should only be men that are actually causing some kind of pain towards us. And we're fueling this fire, fueling women that aren't even really sure that this is what they want. We're seeing kids' clothes in stores like the Children's Place that say feminist for a newborn's outfit, and we're teaching these children that that we don't need a man. You don't need a man to grow up. And I feel like that's a dangerous world to grow into. I feel like everything should be a choice, including to have God's initial plan that he created.
Okay, but women are able to do anything that a man can do, so why exactly would it matter if a child needs a man in their life or not?
I think this is also a really good thing to talk about because we're seeing more and more homes that don't have a man in it. But really, men are capable of doing things that women are not. Women have more synapses in the brain. This has been proven. We are the thinkers. We are the ones that make things happen because we know how to think it through. But really, we're not physically built for many of the things that men are. Men are physically built for larger, strenuous activity that women, even CrossFit builders, have been proven that they cannot exactly own up to. And that's okay because we have these men that can do these jobs, these women that are smart, logical thinkers, and you come together and you got this perfect plan that God set into us from the very dawn of time.
Okay, so what are your opinions on a single mother then? You don't think that she is capable of raising her children as well as being alone than the children being with a man also in the house?
I think that's an excellent question. And single women, they are so unique in the fact that they can take this work in, they can build their family, they can work, they can go to school, they can do a job that they don't really feel they need somebody, but they do. It's proven that women that are so stressed out because they have these jobs they have to worry about their children, they have some attend school, they worry about school. They're sitting here and they're trying so hard, but most of them don't have the support that they need to continue to keep on for years and years and years. It's proven that it's better having two or more people, and especially when you have two different dynamics, because like they say, opposites attract. If you have two of the exact same forces in the same household, it's going to cause kind of a friction dynamic. Even trying to raise children with more than one mother in the household, and especially for single mothers, they can't continue to do this for 18 plus years, and if they can, they're taking a lot out of themselves that they are going to think back and wish, I feel guilty that I ever wanted it, but at the same time I wish I had this time. I think one thing we didn't really talk about in this is, I think, kind of the clothing and attitude towards the women's movement too, because I've seen that feminist movement really, when it started, it was more about job security and stuff, and now you see a lot of women showing, Instagram, social media, these nude photos and stuff. What's your outlook on that?
Okay, well, if it's their body, they should have the right to be able to express themselves in whichever way they choose. It's not affecting anyone else.
So I can see where that kind of comes in, because in the Garden of Eden, before they actually, ate from the fruit tree, they actually were naked, and that was God's design that they made for them. But at the same time, once they felt the shame through the fruit, we've wanted clothing and stuff, and it's kind of actually gave a more modest outlook, because you want to save yourself for your husband, you want to save yourself in this lifetime for the good, and it comes kind of back to that lady wise, lady wild. If you are doing everything for yourself, are you really benefiting in the long run, since you don't have anybody to share it with?
Probably not.
Well, I mean, if you think about it, I could see where feminism comes from on that, but it seems like it'd be more logical to have, somebody to share that with. And I know that we have the LGBTQ community and stuff that really push for the feminist movement as well, because everybody likes to be empowered.
I completely agree. I think you just won this debate, Jasmine. Congratulations.